The H-1B program claims to help tech companies fill crucial jobs with highly skilled foreigners. But does it actually do that? No. It's corrupt to its core. Very few CEOs in Silicon Valley are willing to admit this, except for this entrepreneur, co-founder of defense contractor Anduril Industries, Palmer Luckey.
Of course, there's so much H-1B abuse. You would not believe what I saw when I was in Silicon Valley. It is insane. It's obviously a program to try and replace U.S. workers with basically slave labor that can't ever escape.
After this erupted into a debate online, Palmer Luckey doubled down, saying, "My point is that the people who believe H-1B jobs will be filled by Americans are right, not delusional or wrong. Most of these jobs cannot be outsourced to Bangalore, and the United States government should punish companies outsourcing the jobs that can." I'm Caroline Downey of National Review, and in this video, I'm going to explain why Luckey is right, that H-1B's promise is a lie, and why it hurts young Americans, and especially young men, by displacing them in the job market. Instead of just dumping the H-1B program altogether, the Trump administration is first just trying to deter employers from using it. This week, the administration proposed charging employers an extra $103,000 to hire H-1B workers, which is a program widely used by tech companies, consulting firms, and startups. The administration is also cracking down on legal immigration in other ways, restricting visas of up to 200,000 foreigners who have applied for asylum in the United States. This is all responding to growing demand within the GOP to curtail not just illegal, but legal immigration, and to focus on revitalizing the American culture and economy and making sure it actually serves, Americans. Groundbreaking concept. Throwback to December 2024. Vivek Ramaswamy got into hot water for this take on Americans' work ethic. He wrote, "The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, parentheses, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s and likely longer. That doesn't start in college. It starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity, and their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. Normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent, and if we pretend like it does, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. That's the work we have cut out for us, rather than wallowing in victimhood and just wishing or legislating alternative hiring practices into existence. I'm confident we can do it. All right, so Vivek Ramaswamy was spot on that our government-run education system is not exactly cultivating brilliance. It's just filling the coffers of the teachers' unions. Our academic proficiency scores are underwater. Marxists are trying to destroy our country from within by turning our kids' brains into mush. But Vivek got a ton of flack because, number one, the tweet did denigrate American culture, which is part of the reason we are the envy of the world, from our football to our social events. Our vibrant civil society is a reflection of our freedom. And number two, the premise was wrong. H-1B was marketed as this incredible program that was going to bring in Einsteins who are going to be on the next Manhattan Project. Few would disagree that stealing our rivals' geniuses and renowned scientists is obviously a smart thing to do. But that's what the EB-1A visa and the O-1 visa are for, luring in extraordinary talent and prodigies. H-1B is not that. It in practice pays foreign workers chump change to do jobs that Americans can and would do. It brings in hundreds of thousands of immigrants simply because they have STEM degrees. We're talking entry-level computer science jobs though, not chief technology officers. Or even worse, H-1B workers are doing, wait for it, event planning. Okay, but before we get to this crazy story, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell if you enjoy our incisive coverage and analysis. Okay, here's the tea. The University of Pittsburgh is currently hiring for an H-1B applicant to fill the role of special events coordinator at the competitive rate of $45 grand a year. Are we kidding? We're supposed to believe that there is no one in America who would do this job? My teenage cousin with no college degree could do this job. Next important question, Do we have a shortage of STEM workers in the United States?
Republicans have to talk about it, Laura.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
No. Trump was actually right the first time on H-1B during his first term. We do not have a shortage of highly skilled labor in the United States. How do we know that? Because if tech firms were as desperate for STEM workers as they claim to be, then salaries would skyrocket as employers scramble to get the best talent. This graph from the Center for Immigration Studies proves that that is not happening. Real total compensation for STEM workers in the US has been essentially flat since 2008. In fact, guys, we have a surplus of American STEM graduates who have just not been activated in the workforce. This second chart from the Center for Immigration Studies shows that in 2022, there were 17.2 million working-age Americans with STEM degrees, but only 8.6 million were actually employed in STEM jobs. So a huge supply of STEM degree holders in the United States, but they're just not taking the jobs. Well, with the H-1B labor flooding into the American economy, that depressed the salaries of American STEM workers. So the likeliest explanation here is that American STEM workers don't want to be underpaid by big tech that's hiring foreign workers for pennies on the dollar, because the biggest perk of the job isn't the pay, it's the promise of a green card. Which brings me to my third point, that H-1B is kind of an indentured servant program. The Republican Party was built on a free men, free soil ethos. So if your work arrangement with an employer is basically, you got to do this job or we're kicking you out of the country, I would argue that's not a completely free, voluntary arrangement. Like, you have a threat of deportation kind of hanging over your head. Plus, the $65,000 H-1B visas a year, plus the additional 20,000 visas for those with graduate degrees, are often taken by people who go through what's called diploma mills. These are mechanisms in place to help migrants basically bypass the degree requirements for the H-1B visa. So what we are getting are semi-skilled, not highly skilled, workers doing desk work, data entry, administrative jobs, occasionally hard coding data, or literally event planning. The program is quite literally designed to prevent US citizenship and immigration services from investigating whether the information an employer files matches the quality of the actual H-1B visa applicant. The practice now is for employers to hire body shops. These are staffing firms that flood the lottery with duplicate H-1B applications to maximize the chances of getting those roles filled. These employers exploit the H-1B visa program to bring in foreign workers to work at below market salaries. Another even weirder abuse of this system is the practice of benching H-1B workers, which is when a company will bring in a foreign worker on the visa, but have the employee do no work, while either charging a third-party client for the use of his labor or not paying the laborer at all. And for the folks who say, well, we have to compete with China and get the best of the best from abroad, again, they're not the best of the best.
They're not sending their best.
Also, China is not recruiting thousands of coders from India. It has a massive internal supply of engineering and software talent. And so do we. So what's the solution here? A compromise might be a point system that improves the selection of high-skill immigrants that the tech sector wants, while at the same time we reduce the overall number of mostly low-skill immigrants. It'd be a good idea to end the current lottery approach with H-1B and instead have employers bid for employees, with those offering higher wages getting considered first. Selection would move down the wage scale until the annual visa limit is reached. And this would stop the undermining of the American labor market that's happening right now with H-1B. The program desperately needs reform because right now it's corrupt to its core. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so we can keep the party going. And if you missed it, check out our last video on Hassan Piker, the absolute weirdo of the far left that the Democratic Party can't seem to outright reject. We'll talk about his latest grave-stomping performance dealing with Charlie Kirk and myth-busting when it comes to which party is really driving political violence and the fantasizing of that currently in America today. I'm Caroline Downey with National Review, signing off.